Hello, hello, hello. Oh my goodness. Get centered in the screen. Hi, guys. Welcome to July. Can you believe it's July already? You guys, a full 6 months of 2024 is gone, and the next 6 months of 2024 is upon us. And in order to help everybody kick some assets in these last 6 months, which you know I love to do, I'm going to share some of my big lessons so far. Yeah. All right. As you come on in, say hi. I'd love seeing you guys. I am going to pull now an angel card. If you are on vacation, good on you. We postponed Coffee with Coach for a whole week to give you guys more vacation time. I know because I love you. I care about you. So let's get this angel card pulled for July. I'm so super excited. Okay, who needs this one? This is for someone. I don't know who this is for, but this is awesome. Innocence. I just work here. Here we go. Can you see it? How cool is that? Innocence. Well, let's just find out what this is about because I'm baffled. Okay, let's see. So, beloved one, everyone is guiltless in truth, and no one can alter God's handiwork of perfection. Give us your feelings of heaviness. Oh, maybe this is why. Give us your feelings of heaviness so that we can lighten your load. Give us any guilt, anger, or blame that may shroud your loving outlook. Enjoy the peace within your heart once more. Okay, I love it. All right, you guys. So here's the deal in July. Um, sorry, you guys, you have to forgive the hair. It's like soup outside. I walk outside my door, it's soup. And I went to dry my hair and get pretty free. I couldn't do it, it was too hot. So we're frizzing. It's okay. It's all right. What is it? Taylor Swift says, my hair's gone back to its factory settings. That's pretty much where we are today. All right. So I wanted to share with you guys what's been going on in 2024. For me personally, inside the business, what's been happening. And I think you can hear I have a little bit of a cold. I did something super fun. Within 48 hours, my kids and I decided to run to London for the weekend. That was amazing. I highly recommend doing it. And of course, I caught somebody's cold along the way. Totally worth it. All right. So if you hear that little nasally, no, I'm not tired. I'm just at the tail end of a cold. All right. So here's what's been going on, right? So you guys, if you've been with me, 2022 was super rough. For me personally, we also tripled the business at the same time, something that still makes me like giggle with pride to this day. Um, but here's the deal. So, in the beginning of 2024, just dealing with kind of the aftermath of 2022, which sounds funny, right? But sometimes it takes a while for our lives to catch up with everything that's changed, everything that's going, right? And just there were so many different areas. I was just yanked in 15 million different areas every day, or so it felt, right? That's really, really what it felt like. And so concentrating on just one thing was brutal, right? That was super tough for me to do. And so here's what I've learned so far in this year in order to help me as a person, right? This is kind of a personal coffee with coach. You guys know I love to coach you and I always will. I'll give you everything I've got and I'm a person, right? And I'm going through stuff too. And my commitment when I became a coach 15 years ago was to always tell the truth. At the time, it's getting better now, but at the time, it was, I'm perfect. I'm a guru. And if you want to be perfect like me, pay me millions of dollars. Right. And that's how coaches spoke. And I hated it because it's not real, right? No work lifts you up out of your humanity. You're still a person. I don't care what you do for a living. You're a human being and life is going to affect you. Right. And so I've always tried so hard to live that fully. So I'm doing that now in July's Coffee with Coach. By the way, if you missed June's Coffee with Coach, I want you to watch that as well, because that was about setting yourself up for success in the summertime when it's harder, right? We all want to but can I just put my feet up all the time? And the answer is yes, of course you can. And this leads me to lesson number 1 of 2024 for me. And that is that rest is not a nice to have. I know you're like, no duh, Sarah Walton. But let me tell you something. If if you love to produce, like I love to produce, like I crank stuff out like bananas, I'll write 30 social media posts. I will write coffees with coach. I will make sure we know what's happening on the podcast. Like I can crank that stuff out. And all of a sudden, it was late February of 2022. I couldn't do it. And I was like, well, I never don't do that, right? I had to eat my own dog food and remember I'm a human, right? No work lifts us up out of our humanity. So I had to rest. It wasn't a nice to have. And I've heard Marie Forleo saying this lately, which I just love, which is you don't rest because you work hard. You rest so you can work hard. And I really like how she's flipping that on its head. And that has been an absolute lesson for me, 100% this year. In addition, hey, Lily, good morning. In addition, I have also learned in 2024 that relationships matter more than anything else. Again, you might go, well, duh. You guys, I have been a workaholic since I was 15 years old, right? I love working. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. And this year, as my children are getting older, we had somebody graduate from high school going away. I can't even stand it. I've got 5 weeks left with that child. I'm going to lose it. Um, and another who's, almost finished with high school. And just realizing and watching and learning actively what I decided to do as I was slowing down at the end of February and I wasn't quite feeling like myself and things felt a little crunchy. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like in the trenches, which is a real thing. And what I decided to do was study the wisdom of those who are older than us. And I started watching videos. I did research. What do people say? And we hear the usual things, right? No one on their deathbed says, God, I wish I'd worked more, right? That's not a thing. But I really started listening more and more. And what I heard and watching, we're all part of the sandwich generation. If you're about my age, right? Watching aging parents while we're watching this younger generation launch is the loneliness that can happen as people age, right? Like that feeling and asking them over and over what's the most important. And they would say relationships. So over the last couple months, if you're one of my one-on-one clients, you know this, right? We've had some surgeries happening in our household. We've had some other emergency doctor visits. Like we've had some things we've had to take care of. And normally when that happens, I'll keep working. And this year I did not. This year I said, I'm sorry. This is the day I'm taking off. We'll move everybody around. And of course, everyone was wonderful and delightful about it, right? This was a Sarah Walton lesson. And you guys, again, you might be thinking this doesn't apply to me, but I bet it does. And it may not be work, but maybe it's something else that you're putting above relationships that actually matter to you. Do you know what I'm saying? And I want us in the latter half of 2024, especially with what's going on in the US and everybody feeling so uncomfortable. And yes, I have to address that. I know it's a real thing. Um, is that relationships matter the most. Talk to people, be with your people, love up on your people. And please, for the love of all things, I've talked to you guys about this all through 2023. Please remove the people from your life who shouldn't be there. You know who they are. Life is too short. It's way too short. What do we get? 75 springs, 75 summers, 75 falls, 75 winters. That's it. That's all you get. Are you really going to continue to spend that time with people who make you feel bad or trying to chase people and get attention or turning yourself into a pretzel into something you're not in order to be accepted? Really want you to think about that in the last half of this year and instead turn your focus towards the people who matter most to you. Yeah. Right. So my issue was working too much. Yours might be something else. And it could also be work, right? Like we all have stuff. Okay. But that was a huge lesson so far in 2024. As we are halfway through this year, that's something I'm making a priority. The next is really talking about being in the trenches. So the reason I want you guys to make sure you check out June's Coffee with Coach is I talk about how to get through the summer without the hustle. Now we are seeing, God bless Gen Z, right? They are dismantling everything. Right. At some point, they need to start putting it back together too, right? They can build something better, but right. Okay. But they're dismantling everything. And one of the things that we're seeing come out of this for all of us, right, is the anti-hustle culture, right? The quiet quitting, all the stuff that we heard about, right? But I think there's a way to do this with elegance and with integrity. And we are going to be in the trenches at times. Like I've said, from like February until really June, you guys, I have just been in the trenches personally, like, oh my, slogging every day. I mean, when I tell you guys, it's like pushing water uphill, right? Like in the trenches, right? This stuff, oh my God, so much going on. Yeah. And so that's a real time in our lives. And all of us have it. It ebbs and it flows and it changes. And sometimes it's so intense, you're like, all right, that's it, I'm out. And other times you're like, I have nothing going on. I can do whatever I want, right? That's life. But what I want you to learn how to do in the second half of 2024 is notice when you are in the trenches. We have so been taught, you guys know how strongly I feel about this, but we have so been taught to perform. We've all been taught to be performative. We've all taught to be high functioning. and then to be high functioning to the point that we only care about what everybody else is going through. Not this year. I want you to stop and listen. And I'm not saying you have to start yelling at people and being like, I'm not doing the dishes. That's not what I'm saying. Because there's a way to do this with elegance and integrity, which is to say, I'm in the trenches right now. So I'm going to coast on this part just a little bit because I need the break. Because I've had to have this conversation. I'm not kidding you. Gosh, last week, I think it was 6 different clients. They were like, "What's wrong with me? I have to get better. I have to be stronger. I have to," and I'm like, "Dude, you are so burned out. You are so tired." And you just watch their shoulders drop. It's like, "Oh my God, I am." You guys, acknowledge that it's okay. We deserve to rest. And it's not even deserve, it's a necessity. All right. So what happened? I just want to share with you guys. So I'm kind of like really being super honest with you guys. So starting February all the way through June, you guys, I did not work a single weekend. And you might be like, well, that's Sarah, why don't you should do that all the time? That's new for me. It was really, really new for me because that's really my writing time. Like that's the time, right? Because my team's off and I can just get in there and do whatever like really get in deep and do great stuff and link things together. And I haven't been able to do it. And admitting that to myself was so hard. Do you guys know what I'm saying? You ever gone through that where you're like, oh, I don't have the energy to do this right now? And we were raised so almost violently, right, to perform and to produce. And so those moments when we're in the trenches, those are real. And you've got to take the time to help yourself get through them. Is this making sense? Yeah? Okay. I hope so. I hope so. All right. I love it. Okay. So now that we've gone through this, these are the Sarah Walton lessons of 2024. What I really want to support you guys in doing is figuring out your own lessons so far this year. Now, I love journaling, right? And you may be like, Sarah Walton, I do not love journaling. I got that. But I'd like you to do something for me just for the sake of figuring out what lessons you've learned, because I was just doing this with the Abundance Academy. Actually, the participants in the Abundance Academy, we had the best time. We did a mid-year review. We sat down, we looked at the whole thing, like everything that we've learned, what's going on, what are we proud? Like, oh my God, we went into it, like into it, right? And we're not going to quite do that on Coffee with Coach, but if you don't take the time to actually document what you've learned, chances are you'll do it again. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying, right? Yeah. What? I did that again? What? Yeah, if you actually take the time to sit down and figure out what lessons you've learned so far, it will help you in not repeating mistakes again. Yeah, because we learn from the hard stuff, right, you guys? We learn when it gets really challenging. We learn when we're exhausted. We learn when we made a mistake. We learn when something didn't go the way we thought it could. That's when we learn. You know, it's that old phrase, it's really easy to be great when everything's going great. But what do you learn when things aren't going great? And that's really, really critical. So I want you to learn how to do that, okay? Now, there's one more lesson before we jump into this that I wanted to share with you guys. And that is in marketing, and that is in me actually sharing what I do. So at the end of 2023, I hired a marketing firm to help me market something. And they were fine. But you know what? It wasn't anywhere near as good as when I do it myself. And, look, I get it. We should all be outsourcing some things for sure, right? We should be growing our teams. We should be looking for where things are redundant and start to outsource 100%. And what I learned at the end of 2023, beginning of 2024 is no one's better at it than me. And I want you to think about that for yourself too, as we dive into how you find the lessons you've learned so far, is notice where nobody does it better than you. Now, the caveat to this is you holding on so tight that nothing else can get done. Not what I'm saying. You know what I'm talking about? There are those of you that won't even hire a bookkeeper because your super duper Excel spreadsheet is amazing, right? Yeah, maybe, but a bookkeeper also knows things you don't know. And you may be missing thousands and thousands of dollars that could be taken care of for you when an expert's doing it. Do you know what I'm saying? And by the way, that's one of the reasons I hired the marketing firm. So I was like, you know what, Sarah, relax a little bit. Let's see. Let's test the waters. And I was right. Nobody does it better than me. And that doesn't mean I have to do every single thing, but it can also mean I direct other people the way I want it done. Does that make sense? Yeah. Because every time I'm involved in the marketing, we hit every single goal. When I'm not, we don't. I was like, okay, what's the different ingredient? Right. And it's me wanting to relax more and turn more things over when it's not always appropriate. Is this making sense? You guys know what I'm saying? So there's a balance here for all of us to strike. And that's another lesson I want you to like kind of filter through this next exercise of like, where am I holding on too tight and where have I relaxed too much? Right. It's like this crazy balance we have to do. Yeah. Okay. So here we are, beautiful humans. All right. I want you to think about the biggest challenges you have faced so far in 2024. Go. I want you to write them down. Just think about it. Just think about it. What are the big, you know what they are. Think about January when it was freaking freezing. God, that'd be nice right now. Where it was freezing, right? I want you to think about the springtime. I want you to think about tax season, right? We don't, those of us in America, I know because we're crazy and we do it in April. Think about the turning of the seasons into summer. What were the biggest challenges you faced? You know what they are. They probably come up real quick. Yeah. Okay. So go ahead and write those down. I'm going to keep going, but if you need to pause the video, go ahead and do that after the live stream's over. Okay. So go ahead and write down those biggest challenges. You got those? Once you have those, see if you can pull out 1, 2, or 3 lessons you've learned from each individual challenge. This is something, you guys, as a coach, this is something I am telling you 99.9% of the population does not do. And it's why history repeats itself. Right? It's why we keep making the same mistakes because we're not actually analyzing what we've learned. This is so important. If you want to be like really happy with your life, if you want to be successful, meaning for you, that could mean exquisite relationships and $2 in the bank. I don't care, right? That's your vision to create. But if you want that, you need to learn lessons, right? This is why we look to our elders for wisdom because they've learned the lessons, right? And if I can help you learn lessons faster, I win as a coach, right? As a coach, my job is to alter human behavior. Not an easy task, by the way, but that's my job, right? Is to help you alter your behavior. You can't do that if you're not learning. 1 or 2 or 3 lessons from each challenge that you have faced so far this year. Yeah, keep going. I'll give you a sec. As you guys come in, make sure you say hi so I know who's here. Write those down. So 1, 2, or 3 lessons that you have learned from each challenge you've faced so far in this year. Give you a couple more seconds. Oh gosh, you guys, it's so hot. I'm melting. My poor air conditioner's just cranked. Oh, the joys. Okay. 1, 2, or 3 lessons. Okay. Now, what I'd like you to do right now is we're going to reframe these lessons. Okay. So I want you to take the lessons that you've learned from the challenges that you've had so far this year, and let's rephrase them into gratitude. Okay. Because we all know, if you haven't listened, I think it's episode 5 of the podcast, The Power of Gratitude, right? There's a couple we have on gratitude, but that one's amazing with Dr. Peggy DeLong. When we turn things into gratitude, we're not just going to say, I'm so grateful that. You are going to say that. But in addition to that, we're going to write it in the present tense, right? So let's take one of my lessons. Rest is a priority. It's not a nice to have, right? So my reworking that into gratitude would be, I'm so grateful I always allow myself to rest whenever I need. Make sense? Right? And I make it present tense. You guys know this trick, right? Because the subconscious brain doesn't know the difference. You ever watched like the Olympic gymnasts with their headphones in, working their routines in their mind? Why do they do that? Because the mind doesn't know if it's really happening or not, but it learns. That's why we do this. It's not woo-woo, actually. It's been proven over and over that if you read things out loud, if you write things down, okay. Hey, Karen. Oh, I know. Yeah, you're good at that too, actually. Yeah. I do it the best. Right. Excuse me, you guys. Okay, so let's rewrite what you've learned so far, okay, and make it a positive, like a positive statement that you do actively presently in your life and one filled with gratitude. I'm so grateful that I always allow myself to rest whenever I need. I'm so grateful. I know the difference between when I need to do something or I need to delegate. I'm so grateful that my next task in business is always crystal clear for me. We're going to get to that more in a second. Um, I will also share, let me pull out mine, right? I'm going to actually share. Okay. Here's another one of mine. Okay. Cause I was really battling, some actually some pretty serious depression this year. It's been really rough. I'm so much better now. And I think this is one of the reasons why. All right. So mine says, I'm so grateful. I wake up energized and excited for the day because that wasn't happening at the time. I'm so grateful that I'm focused on one work project and I know exactly what needs to be done to get it to perform and be amazing. That's one of mine. Um, Haha. Okay. I'm so grateful I have a stocked emergency fund. That's actually already true. So happy. Strong investment that makes tons of money. Also true. Very, very happy. And zero debt. Also true. Very, very happy. But I keep it in here and I say it to myself every day because I want to keep that going. Right? I want to keep that going. I want to make that as real for myself as possible. And I'm so grateful that I have such great friends and colleagues who support me and love me. And that goes to relationships, right? Remember, I said I really learned the importance of relationships this year. So making more time, making exact time for friends, for family. Polo is one of my favorite apps on my phone, right? Like always connecting with people wherever I can. Yeah. So those are some of mine. I want to give you a few more minutes. Um, to keep writing those down in a positive format with I'm grateful. I think we have more people coming in. Say hi if you want, and I can say hi back. I love that. Okay. Okay. And now you can do this a couple different ways. If you've worked with me one-on-one or taken one of my programs, you may remember the morning formula. Yeah. And that's like something that we put together every single day for you to read and remember and get yourself excited about. You can add this to that if you're one of my people. If you've never done anything like that before, get started with this. It really will change your life. And, you know, watching these amazing gymnasts, right? Like watching all this happen. I don't know if you guys are following along, but it's kind of hard not to because boy, are they exquisite, right? None of them do that without coaches. Not one of them do that without coaches. And what cracks me up, right? And I always tell other coaches this too, right? Is those coaches weigh like 250 pounds and maybe can't do what they can do as they fly themselves through the air, right? That's not the point. They know how to get that client to fly. That's what I'm doing here with you. I know how to get you to fly, but you got to do what I tell you to do. And rewriting the lessons you've learned so far in 2024 so you don't repeat them in the latter half of the year or ever. Hi. And then flipping them into positives in your own life. Do you know what that will do for you? Do you have any idea? I promise you, right? It's just like somebody else warming up their hamstring a really specific way based on an injury they had. They don't listen to their coach. Chances are they're not going to perform their best, period. And none of them ever perform without a coach, ever. There's a reason coaching exists. And it's because we as humans, one, we need each other, but two, we can't see our own stuff, right? If you already had all the answers, you'd have them. If I already had all my own answers, I'd have them, right? I have relied heavily on coaches, on therapists, right? On exercise, doing all the things, right, that we can do to make sure we're all healthy and strong. I can't do that by myself, and neither can you. None of us can. That's not weakness, that's strength. So if you can actually remember to do this, quantify what you have learned so far this year, flip it into something that is positive, something you're grateful for, you will change your life. It's not magic. It's logic, but you got to do it. Okay. So I want you to remember to read this. You can do it every day. You can put it on post-its. I'm a huge fan, those of you that have known me for a while, right? Post-its on your monitor because you sit down at your computer every day to work. What would happen if it was on there? Put it on timers on your phone. I'm so grateful. Put it on there. List it out. What have you learned? And that will help you remember so that you're not like the rest of the 99.9% of humanity that doesn't learn. Cool? Now, if for some reason you are not clear on your best next step, right? So now we have been like, okay, lessons learned, holy cannoli, right? And then we move on to um, what do we want to do next? We have the whole rest of the year to go, right? And I think what happens for people, I would love to know how you guys feel about this, right? What happens for most people is either the goals or ideas they set are vague. I was joking around with one of my one-on-one clients. She's like, I can't keep setting the goal, make more money. I'm like, how the hell is that your goal? That's not a goal. That's an idea, right? Like, no, that's not a goal, right? So it was like, how much do you want to make every single month? How much are you going to have to make every single week? And what are you going to have to sell to hit that goal? She was like, oh, there we go. Right. Like we were laughing. I was like, why have you kept that as a goal? You didn't share that with me. Like, oh my gosh, that's not a goal. And, for most of us, that's what happens, right? You just set these esoteric, crazy things you think you're supposed to want or whatever, but then there's no plan. And I love working with the magic of life. So there's a plan, but then you also accept things as they change and move and grow, right? But there's a plan. There's a trajectory. It's cool. I only speak for a living. Okay. But how many times have you been crystal clear on something and you make it happen? I'm going to venture to guess every freaking time. I would bet you that if you have set a specific tight flipping goal, you've hit it. Yes or yes. Why? Because you know what to do. So you go do it. So if you're feeling like you're floundering right now, you're having those times like when I was really fighting through March, I was like, "Oh, dear heavens, the slog of it all," right? Was like, "What's the best next step? What do I need to focus on right now?" And sometimes I could get half of it done compared to my normal productivity rate, right? But it was like I knew what to do, and that's what got me through. That and really looking at lessons, constantly reworking them into positives, okay? So, here's some questions you can ask yourself if you are not clear, okay? Which is number one, is you got to get really like, okay, this is one of my favorite exercises. Is if your life was absolutely gorgeous, perfect, the way that you want it right this second, what would you do today? So my favorite questions, right? So if you had all the money in the bank, you had the relationships you wanted, your health was where you wanted it, your adventure, your travel, your hobbies, your excitements, exactly where you wanted it, what would you do today? What would you do? What would you choose to focus on? How would you spend your time? Who would you be talking to? What conversations would you be having? And the reason I ask the question that way is if life is already going the way that you want it, what do you want from there? And that will tell you what you actually really, really want because everything's handled. And then you'll start to see like, oh, oh my God, you know what I've never done? I really want to climb Mount Everest. And we'll all be like, holy crap, there's a thing. Right. And we'll be like, all right, let's go. Right. Whatever. You need to pick a thing. And in these moments, okay, I can't help it. You guys know how much I love my Taylor Swift. I'm going to do it again. I'm sorry. In the moments of despair, in the moments when things seem fuzzy, I want you to go watch Miss Americana. I know, knock it off. Everybody's got Netflix or find someone who's got Netflix. Go watch that because there's one moment in there where she turns it all around and what we know today wouldn't exist had she not. Okay. And that moment, right, was after she'd gone through the thing with Kanye West. She disappeared for 18 months. No one heard from her. And she'd written the album Reputation. And she released it and it was completely snubbed by the Emmys. And her PR rep calls her and says, okay, there's nothing coming out. All the Emmy nominations are out and you're not in. And she's on the couch and she wells up for just a second. And then she says, I got to make a better album. That's the moment. All of a sudden, she was crystal clear on what she needed to do. She could have quit, you guys. She had hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank. She was already well known. She'd done her thing. She's going to be known as an extraordinary songwriter. But everything that we know now from the album Lover on wouldn't exist. Or we wouldn't know about it. You've got to understand there are moments like that where you can turn everything around. Or you can turn it all off. And that's why I'm asking you in this moment when you already have everything, you're good to go. What do you want? You've got to know what that is because there's always a next and life will always keep going. And you've got to know what you're moving towards. We as humans do not do well if we aren't moving towards something. We just don't. We flounder. We get sick. We get frustrated. We lose our relationships. It's a real thing. Okay. What do you want? Yeah. And think about that. Got to make a better album. Okay. So there's that piece. Now, once you know what it is, I want you to actually put a timeline to it. I know it's so annoying. Can I tell you guys I hate this part of goal setting? I do. I'm just going to just call myself out. I hate it. I love imagining and dreaming and creating. Don't freaking box me in with a schedule. It makes me nuts. That's why I don't work in corporate anymore, because I don't want to work when you want me to work. I want to work when I want to work, right? Like, it's a real thing. So what I want you to do is look at it and say, okay, I've decided, like, if I had everything, I'm going to write a book. I have everything I want. I want to climb Mount Everest. I have everything I want. I want to learn how to run a 4-minute mile. I have everything I want. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, you're going for that. Okay. By when would you like to do it? Is that going to take 2 years? Is it going to take 9 months? What do you need to do? And so the very first action item you can give yourself is to research it. Well, what would it take? Do I need to hire a book agent? Do I self-publish? What does that look like? So now you're just asking questions you can go find results for, and you schedule an hour on Friday mornings to do research on that. That's it. Okay? Because I know, God bless Stephen Covey, right? But like Mormons, but there's like a white patriarchy bullshit to setting goals. Sorry, I said it, right? That's like slog, hustle, grossness. You don't have to do it that way. So when I say schedule it in, work it into your schedule where it works for you. But it is real, right? I know if I were to go over to your house right now and look at your calendar, I could tell you what matters to you. True or true, right? Yeah. Like, I would know. You got client meetings, or you've got marketing meetings, you've got meetings with your team, you've got writing time. If you ride horses, or writing time, right? You might have travel. You might have the next 3 years of vacations planned. I would know that. And I would know that that's what matters to you. What's in your calendar? You got to start putting that stuff in. Okay. So we don't have to do like the patriarchy bullshit way to do this. There's a way for you to do it and that it works inside your own life. Yeah. Okay. So I want you to start thinking about that. What are the first 3 steps? Get them in your calendar. Once those 3 steps are done, think about the next 3 steps. Get them in your calendar. Don't let this wane, right? Look at the lessons you've already learned. What you want matters. Okay. I always go over time. I'm so sorry. Okay. And then the last thing that you need to do in thinking about what you really want is I want you to think about what could get in the way. What could get in the way? What could knock you off course? I know for me right now, other people's medical issues, right? Like, that's a thing for me. Okay. If that happens, how do I handle it? Who are my helpers that come in and support, right? Which meetings can I move? Which ones am I not willing to move, right? Like, really getting that down and understanding. Cool. Okay. So I hope this was super helpful for your July. As we enter the last 6 months of 2024, I want you crystal clear. I want you learning lessons, and I want you focused with joy. This doesn't have to be a slog ever. And again, I'm going to push you. If you haven't watched June's Coffee with Coach, I want you to go back and watch it. Like, enjoy your summer. Love it up. This is a gorgeous, beautiful time to be with family. And oh, can we talk about the fruits and veggies? And it's so good. So enjoy your summer, enjoy your time, and learn from what you've already experienced and start to create a crystal clear plan for what you actually want. I'll see you guys in August. Bye.